Hello and welcome to All Things Seniors. This is your host, Rafiq. I have been caregiving for over 20 years, and on this channel, I empower other caregivers one episode at a time. I'm sure you know that incoming President Trump in the United States have been referring Canada as the 51st state. If that happens, now I'm not saying that it will happen, but let's run a thought experiment. Let's see if it were to happen, what it would mean for the seniors, right? So today we will think about if that happens, there will be three good things that will result good for seniors, and there will be three bad things that will result not very good for seniors. So let's start with good first, right? Number one, we see that a lot of seniors do snowbirding. They go to warmer climates, from Florida to Phoenix. They go there for spending their winters, right? Our Canadian winters are not the most pleasant. If we were to become one country, it will become easier for our seniors to travel, stay as long as you want, no 6 months restriction, maybe owning property, different rules. I think overall things will become better for current snowbirds. So I think that is one good thing. I think the other good thing is that we'll get more cruise options, right? It'll become one country. We don't get a lot of cruise options in Canada. There are a few from Halifax side, there are a few from Vancouver, but there are a lot more currently from US. So I know that a lot of seniors travel to Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Galveston, Los Angeles. All those places have many more options. And if we were to be one country, I think we'll be able to use those options as like one country. So maybe travel cost will come down. And I think from a travel perspective, our crappy roads, our roads are not very good. You know that, right? We have very thin Trans-Canada line, but if you go to USA, their transportation their infrastructure is way, way better. So if we were to become one country, I think from a transportation perspective, seniors may be able to enjoy that a little bit more. So that's number two. And number three is wait times in our emergency rooms, in our medical facilities. I'm sure you know this, that whichever city you live in, whether you are in Toronto or in Montreal or central Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, Vancouver, across the country, we have this challenge of having very high wait times. But in US, it's not that bad. I think if we were to be one country, overall medical system will, from a wait time perspective, will be a better bargain for all of us. Now, so these were the three good things, right? But there are three very heavy challenges as well. Let's look at what these three are. Number one, we talked about the wait times, but there is another aspect of healthcare system, which is the cost of healthcare system. In Canada, our healthcare system is universal. It applies to everyone. There is no age limit from a child to until you are. Our healthcare system takes care of us. But in US, things are different. In US, the Medicare system only applies to people over the age of 65. And even for those people, not everything is covered. There are a lot of things from vision to hearing tests, even healthcare. A lot of home care from a healthcare perspective is not covered as in Canada it is. So I think our seniors will be at a losing end if we were to become one country. So that's a huge negative. Second biggest challenge, I think, will come from a financial planning or tax planning perspective, because our seniors have been planning their retirement, whether it's through old age benefits, CPP. They've been managing their retirement planning as to how they will withdraw that money for their later years and how it will impact them from a tax perspective. Now, if you throw a curveball and merge two countries whose taxation systems are significantly different, Canada has very high taxation, USA has low taxation, again, federally, state-wise, our provinces have very high taxes as well, some of them. The new tax system may be a good thing, may be a bad thing. I'm not saying that it may definitely be a bad thing, but definitely a lot more planning will be needed. And for those people who are not very savvy with taxation, it may become a nuisance for them. It may become a challenge for them. So I think it will be a huge challenge, a big uncertainty, I would say, if we were to become one country. The third, I would say in my mind, the biggest challenge is, and before I share that, if you're liking this content, subscribe to the channel, like this video, because then YouTube will say, oh, these caregivers are liking it, subscribing it. Let me show this to other caregivers as well, and hopefully we'll be able to help more caregivers. So the third biggest challenge is infrastructure. You know, we talked about the infrastructure from roads perspective, but think about it. If you've been to a mall in Canada or a medical clinic in Canada or a like a Walmart or Superstore in Canada. And you go and everywhere there are accessible ramps and there are these push buttons for older adults or people with disability. You press them, the door opens. The overall infrastructure in Canada is way better. It takes care of people with higher mobility needs. But that's not the case everywhere in USA. And I was wondering, why is that? USA has all the money they need. They spend that money, right? Why they don't have this kind of infrastructure for their older adults and people with disability? And upon research, we found that in Canada, there is a 2019 act which is called Accessible Canada Act. And that applies to all provinces and all territories. So it is enforceable, it is mandatory for organizations and institutions to have those mobility-related, infrastructure-related benefits for older adults. Now, interestingly, United States also have a similar act, and it is called Americans with Disabilities Act. And it is actually there since 1990, so way before Canada actually implemented it. But the reason why we don't see same kind of available infrastructure, available facilities for people with disabilities and older adults is that there is a lot more leeway at state level. So although there is a federal rule, it is case by case basis, and the provincial bodies can say, yeah, you know what, no, that's okay. It's okay if you don't have it. And it has become so lenient that if you go to even museums or libraries, which is used by a lot of older adults and people with disabilities are there, you don't find these facilities. So to me, the overall quality of life for older adults is way better in Canada from that perspective. So 3 goods, 3 bads. My question to you is, what have you found? What do you think? And what is the dialogue right now happening between you and your loved one in your family, the seniors in your family? What are they saying? Because I think as much as we have few goods and few bads, I think overall it is impacting the Canadians not in a good way, right? It is impacting the national identity, the honor, the pride that we have as Canadians. Older adults, especially who have, been Canadians for like 80, 90 years, for them, the pride always being, saying that, oh, Canada, and now listening to this, I'm sure it must be challenging. What are the dialogues you have? Write in the comments that will help us to think a little bit more about it. And in the end, I want to tell you that take care of yourself, because a rested caregiver is a better caregiver. If you are rested, you'll be able to take care of your loved one with better care and with more love. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you in the next week. Ciao.